Good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show. And
Of course, of
that little glitch
course.
earlier.
Of course. No, it's no problem. It happens. It happens all the time. You look fabulous.
Thank you.
And I am so proud of what you're doing. Can you give the audience an update on your journey? What is happening in Rhode Island? Where are you in all of this crazy culture wars that are attacking our educators?
Well, sure. I mean, I think what's happening in Rhode Island is happening nationwide and is of great concern. I think since we spoke last, a lot of things have sort of come to the surface. There seems to be a nationwide push to bring curriculum into the schools that is anti-American in its content and focused on this sort of sexualization or sex ed, this very bizarre. These are the two things that since we spoke last, I've really noticed an uptick in my own district as well.
Now, are you teaching currently or are you still on hold? I mean, what are they doing with you? Because I love how you have stirred the pot, sister, and you do not stop the fight. And that's exactly what we need more of, is people fighting and not being afraid to speak up. So what is your status as an educator?
Well, I was, and this is public, so I can speak to this, I was placed on administrative leave, and that was October 8th, and here I sit. But I can speak to what is happening in my son's school, and as an educator, sort of observing the trends in education nationwide. I can't really speak about what is happening specifically to my position.
Sure, that's fine.
At school, but nationwide, certainly there's overlap. So.
Well, let me ask you this. I was watching your Fox News interview from the other day for maybe it was the other day. I'm trying to remember now, but it was focusing on teacher appreciation. Yeah. And it really talked to our teachers still appreciated what are educators doing. And last week and yesterday, I re-aired an episode with a Loudoun County educator who was also a participant in that event, the Education Freedom event that Jonathan Emord hosted last week. And she was talking to being a young educator and what she is facing with the bathroom issues, what is happening with that whole scenario. So what are your thoughts on educators around the nation? Are they dropping off? Are they saying, no, I can't do this anymore? What's happening? What do you see happening?
Yeah, well, it seems to me that there is a trend. Teachers are fleeing the profession. Now, when I started teaching over 20 years ago, you couldn't even get an interview. Now they're desperate. They're taking people off the street. And, so one thing that has happened significantly, we've seen since 2020, is that the profession is being abandoned by excellent teachers. And there's a reason for that, because I think a lot of teachers are just overwhelmed with what they're seeing in the schools and disagree with it. And they see what's happening to teachers like me, who may be speaking out and voicing very reasonable concerns for students of all cultures and religions and from all walks of life. Really, this is a universal issue. This is a human issue that is driving teachers out of the profession and enraging parents across the nation.
So let me take it to another step. So are you seeing a drop off of children now attending public schools and being removed from schools because of the parents' anger towards what is happening in the schools? Do you see parents pulling their kids out, homeschooling, private schools?
There's a significant drop in enrollment. Parents are rightly so taking their children out of fear, most likely, that their children are going to be indoctrinated into some bizarre cultish mindset, which seems to be dominating all schools currently. So there's definitely parental outrage, including myself. I've spoken out against some of the curriculum items that I'm seeing as a parent in my son's school that are actually shocking and, horrifying. If my son were younger, I would definitely remove him out of the school, take him out of school. But he's going into his senior year, so
Right.
right. We're going to tough it out.
The curriculum that you were exposed to, and I use that term very loosely, that you were exposed to, that you were told to expose your children, your pupils to, is it similar to what I just had Stanley Ridgely on, who is a professor, PhD at Drexel, and he talked about the student affairs that is now popping up at all these universities. And he said there's a curriculum and then there's a co-curriculum. So were you exposed to a co-curriculum that came along with your curriculum? And is that what flagged you to this woke indoctrination, the CRT, all of this stuff coming in? What was that turning point for you? Or was it just embedded and you gradually saw it? How did you?
No, it wasn't gradual at all. And I spoke to this in my article in Legal Insurrection in 2021, I believe it was. I wrote about this specifically, that basically our books were removed from the classroom and replaced with entire platforms, educational platforms, and included in those platforms are assessments and books and lesson plans, very scripted lesson plans, I might add. So what we saw coming in was a complete sort of hijacking of curriculum materials. And I'll give you a quick example.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So normally at the middle school, I was at the middle school at the time, and we teach units of on genocide and Anne Frank in particular. Well, we were told not to teach the Holocaust or Anne Frank because we were to teach this other westward expansion that had to, sort of reframed the American historical narrative to include this oppressor versus oppressed narrative. And immediately, we could see as educators, there was something very wrong with this. And then when you get to the high school, a lot of the classics are taught. And I think what the professor was speaking about earlier, you have the classics there on the shelf, on the online shelves, and actually in the classrooms. But again, the lesson plans reflect some political ideologies. And just a real quick example, Shakespeare is taught through, or Romeo and Juliet is taught through this sort of gender identity lens. Could Romeo have been struggling with his sexuality? Could Juliet be struggling as a young woman seeking out her autonomy as, whatever? I mean, just absolutely ridiculous interpretations of the classics. So really American literature and American K through 12 education has been 100% hijacked with political ideologies.
Yes. So I want to talk about the trans aspect. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Sorry.
I want to talk to you about the trans commentary, the content that's happening in the schools. And, the educator that was on last week, and I re-aired it yesterday, talked about the day that she signed to be an educator in Loudoun County was the day that the boy who said he was a girl dressed up, put a skirt on, went into the girl's bathroom and raped that little girl. So let's talk about the trans piece. You have a son that's in high school. What are you seeing in your part of the country? And what are you seeing nationwide from this agenda that is, I call it pure evil. I really do.
Well, what's evil about it is that, again, just as the American history has been hijacked and the entire curriculum and school culture has been hijacked with these sort of anti-American, anti-girl, anti-boy ideologies, we're also seeing this bizarre, sort of, I guess, gender ideology enter the schools. And the fact of the matter is that there are going to be children that will struggle with gender dysphoria. There's going to be children who are gay, who are, whatever, struggle with various identities, may struggle with their religious beliefs. Those things really need to be dealt with by family members and with family members, and should in no way be sort of taken up by school officials.
Mhm.
There's a danger there. And the danger is this: if you have a child who struggles with any kind of an identity crisis or issue, which is, by the way, their job to do in
Mhm.
high school and middle school, then they're going to seek out the attention of anyone who will support their perceived identity crisis.
Right.
And if that means separating them out from the parents, that is indeed what is happening. So,
Mhm.
so we're seeing, kids normally going through various stages of identity crisis, being sort of captured by this, gender ideology and what you're seeing as sort of trans movement in the
Right.
school.
Right. Are you still there? I didn't see
Yeah,
you.
I am there. I don't know why this is happening. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Not
We
really
we
sure
only
what.
have about 3 minutes left until the end
Yeah.
of the show. So let me just ask you this on a final question, final note. What would you recommend to those who are graduating from university who wanted to become a teacher and are now seeing all of these things happening in and around the schools, public schools? What would you say to them? For all of those who are tuning in, this is Common Sense America. We are with Ramona Bessinger. She's an educator in the great state of Rhode Island. She is speaking out against the woke education. She has been on, I call it teacher jail, but she is since October, I believe, of last year. So, and she is the whistleblower in public education for Rhode Island, from Rhode Island. There she is. You okay? Okay, you're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute. There you
Sorry.
go. That's okay. It's okay. One final question for you.
Yeah.
For those who are graduating from university
Mhm.
who wanted to become teachers, what do you say to them as they head into this battlefield?
Well, honestly, a lot of the schools currently are teaching this woke ideology to young teachers. And I think we're seeing also a lot of teachers leaving those programs because they don't agree with them. That's why there's a teacher shortage. But I would say this to any teacher starting out in the profession: you need to hold true to the truth and do not buy into the bullying and intimidation, because it matters for not only the nation, but for, their who's your own children, your own families, and to
Yes.
really stand strong. That is
Yes.
that would be my message.
So, for all of those who are tuning in, where can you tell my audience to follow you? I have your Twitter account going across, and it looks like that's what you're there daily, pretty much posting things. You've been all over the news, national news. What do you have coming down the pike as we head into the summer, and what's ahead for you that you can speak to?
Well, I'm going to continue to sound the alarm nationally on exactly what is happening. So currently I'm trying to speak to some of the things that the NEA and the Department of Education are pressing, and sharing out on social media. They're sharing things that are not entirely true. They're sort of gaslighting parents. And so I feel it's, I'm going to continue to sort of fight on that level, on the national level, but also locally. I work closely with a parent group here in Rhode Island to sort of combat this. This is 24 hours a day, 7 day a week job.
Yeah, I know it is. I know it is. I know what you have done, and you are a warrior. You are a warrior. So, to all of those educators out there, to those who are fighting back the system, I am so proud of you. I applaud you. And no, we aren't the domestic terrorists. We aren't the extremists. We are the ones that believe in this nation. We believe in our God. We believe in our families, and we believe in this country. And we believe in those values that this country was founded on. And you are one of those powerful voices. So I want to continue to encourage you. And for all of those who are tuning in here, Common Sense America, please follow Ramona Ramona on her Twitter account, Ramona Bessinger. Please go follow her, support her, follow her work, her interviews, and everything that she is doing. So for such a time as this, be strong, be courageous, and we will be back tomorrow with more new guests. Thank you so much for joining Common Sense America. Have a great day.
Time for Common Sense America.